Roland Willits, Old Men Stories. And I'm here with Charley Sandage. And what's the first song we're going to talk about today?
Let's talk about one titled 1932.
Oh, I like that.
For those who might be younger than you and I are, we might not even have heard the stories about the Great Depression years, but 1932 was one of the Dust Bowl years in some parts of the country.
Right.
In Arkansas, it wasn't quite that extreme. And my grandfather picked that year to make a very bold move. He had been sharecropping, and he decided he was going to, like a line in the song, to step out on his own. Which meant that he borrowed money to rent a piece of bottom land where he could grow cotton. The land came with a house, and he borrowed $100, which doesn't sound like much, but in 1932 that was an enormous sum for a sharecropper to take on as a debt. But it was a good deal, and he calculated that he ought to be able to really make a profit off of the cotton he would grow. The cotton market had been under pressure for a while, but it didn't collapse until 32. The 31, it had been dry. But hey, you know, it's dry this year, it's going to be fine this year. It wasn't. And when it was all over, Paul, as the family knows, my grandpa came up short. Still had a debt to pay, still had a family to take care of, but at least temporarily, his dream of stepping out on his own, and maybe even one day owning land of his own, which he eventually did, is the land that I grew up on later. But that dream was deferred for another year after the events that are related in this song called 1933.
That is absolutely great. Now, did he tell you about these things? When did he tell you about them?
My dad mostly told me.
Oh, okay.
Paul died in 65. I happened to be in the military. Flew back from Hawaii for the funeral. And at that point in my life, I didn't have the patience for listening to a whole lot of the old stories. You know how kids are. But over time, I became deeply interested in all of that. And so I've mostly heard this story from Dad, who was 10 at the time, when you got to the line about the wife and kids went to the field beside him. Dad and his brother, just younger, who was 8, worked in the fields along with their mother and an older brother and sister.
Picking cotton and doing all that.
Doing all of that.
You said he got $10 extra.
The way, and there wasn't time to explain that in the lyric of the song, but here's how it happened. He came up $10 short. How do you get another $10? That's your whole way of getting money is your cotton crop. There's most people pick over the fields once. Most people pick over the fields twice. Few, what they call scrap, that is, go in the third time and pick what has ripened during the picking season. Very few bother to do that. But Paul went around after he had sold his cotton for $90, went around to all the neighbors and said, "Can I scrap your fields?" And they loaded up the wagon, and Grandma and the kids, or Mama and the kids in that generation, and went around to all the neighbors and picked that third time. They scrapped.
That's toughie. And that's a toughie picking that too.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, picking is tough. It's hard. It's hard on your hands. It's hard on your back. you know. And you just had to just really be especially patient that last time through because it was spotty. There would be a bowl here and a bowl there. But they finally managed to gather enough to make that last $10.
Just to make a break even, but he kept his honor.
He did.
And honor is so important.
That he would pay that debt was a given up there.
That's right. That's right.
And sure enough, he had to find a place because his agreement was only for 1 year. And so by the end of the year, they had to be gone, and they found another sharecropping deal. And then, that was in 32. I'm not sure how long it was, maybe within 4 or 5 years after that. Here was a New Deal program, okay?
Oh, wow. That was pretty good, too.
Yeah, in which a farmer who could show himself to be competent and who had an opportunity to buy a promising piece of land could get support to buy that land on a very, very low interest rate. Might even have been, I'm not certain, might have been a no interest kind of deal. And Hot Spring County, Arkansas had an allocation of 2 of those opportunities. And there were a number of farmers who really wanted that shot. So Paul had to go into the committee at the courthouse and say, you know, I know what I'm doing raising cotton, and this is a good piece of land, and make his case. And he was one of 2 selected.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that is the 40 acres on which my dad finished growing up. And then later on, Dad came back around and bought the 40, you know, in an agreement with Paul and the brothers and the rest of the family. Dad was the one who wound up owning that 40. And that was where I got my introduction. By that time we weren't growing cotton. We had a small cattle herd, but we grew the corn and head grain and hay and all of that. So we had been away and came back, and I think I was 14 when we moved onto that property. So through the bulk of my teens and into my 20s, that was home.
You were a farmer.
And I'd get home from school and go down on that little old Farm All A tractor. We graduated from mules by that time, although we still had one team of mules at that time still, and Dad used them for breaking the garden and small work and all that. But we had a Farm All tractor.
That's right. Thank you. And we're going to listen to 1932. Roland Willits, All Men Stories.